If you're a last-minute gift shopper, then Instacart is your holiday rescue app this season. No more tracking packages, no more trips to the post office, and no more Christmas gifts arriving in February. Instead, you can just download Instacart to order gifts like beauty, tech, and gourmet goods from local stores and get them delivered in as fast as 1 hour. Plus, right now, you'll get free delivery on your first 3 orders. This offer is valid for a limited time. $10 minimum per order. Additional terms apply. Must be 21 plus to purchase alcohol where available.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Weirdos, welcome back to episode number 112 of History for Weirdos.
Yay!
We're glad to be back, guys, and this week is actually fairly important. Do you have any guesses as to why, Stephanie?
No idea. Why don't you tell me?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, fellow weirdos, it is Stephanie's birthday this week.
Yay!
And I believe her episode has a figure in it that ties into your birthday.
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, I'm really excited to hear more about that. So, weirdos, on behalf of all of you, happy birthday, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, weirdos.
Yeah, I just took the initiative on that, guys.
Yeah, I'm sure they approve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, without further ado, Steph, why don't we just dive right into this week's episode?
Yeah, of course. So, as you all already know, this week is on Nostradamus. Ooh. Perfect for the weirdos.
I'm really excited about this.
I'm so glad. So we'll just get started. Michel de Nostredame, also known as Nostradamus, was a French astrologer, apothecary, physician, and a very infamous seer.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. He's best known for his book Les Prophecies, which was published in 1555. It just means the prophecies. It's a collection of 942 poetic quatrains, allegedly predicting future events. And I'll get into that a lot more in the episode.
Nice.
Nostradamus has been credited with predicting the Great Flood of London in 1666, the rise of Adolf Hitler, and even the September 11th terrorist attacks in the U.S.
Okay, so he has a track record that goes a few hundred years. That's fairly impressive.
Yeah, but most interestingly, however, is the fact that Nostradamus was born on December 14th, my birthday.
Yeah, there we go, weirdos.
He was born in 1503, granted.
Okay.
So he's my birthday twin, give or take 489 years.
Oh, wow, those were fairly specific.
Yeah. Give or take.
Okay.
So I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here before we go further into the information, just to explain my connection to this subject and why I selected him for this week's episode. So we're going to go back.
How far back?
I'm about 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
And I'm just perusing Barnes & Noble's on the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica one day. My mom's probably downstairs with the magazines.
I know. Your mom's downstairs with like People magazine and,
yes.
and the gossip columns, and then you're upstairs reading like Nostradamus.
Yep. I came across a copy actually of Les Prophecies.
Oh, wow.
By Penguin Classics. This was in English, of course.
Of course.
And I started reading it right then and there in the store. And as a result, like the good little future weirdo that I was, I became obsessed with Nostradamus. And ever since then, it's been like an on again, off again situation with him and I.
Of course.
But I thought that his impact and just the strangeness of being a seer would be perfect for this week's episode, especially because his birthday and mine are the same.
You guys are birthday twinsies.
Birthday twinsies.
I mean, someone pretty prolific too. You know what's interesting? Even if you don't know a lot about Nostradamus, which I don't, honestly, you've heard the name.
And you're about to learn.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. Who could have predicted this?
Probably whoever read the episode title.
So like thousands of people. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I will also say my love for Nostradamus, or my interest in him, did reemerge. And this is for the weirdos who were CW fans. When the show Reign came out, which is about Mary Queen of Scots.
Gotcha. Okay.
But there's a Nostradamus is in the show. He's played by Rossif Sutherland, and I will be talking about why he's in that show at all. So I'm going to be talking about him and his relationship with Catherine de Medici later on in the episode.
Wow. So we're going to have a lot of twists and turns here, it sounds like.
Yes, I will preface this by saying that there's a lot of side quests in this week's episode.
Nice. This is exactly how I play like those video games, right? Whether it be like the newer Zeldas or Assassin's Creed. I do a lot of the side quests.
Oh, good. Then you'll love this.
Perfect. It's probably because I have ADHD.
Yeah, same.
Like
That's
100% actually.
That's probably why I actually wrote the episode like this now that you mention it.
Oh my God. Did I therapize you?
Oh, the tables have turned. So let's jump in to learning about this controversial seer.
Ooh, okay.
So let's go into his early life. As I mentioned, he was born in 1503, and he was born in Saint-Rémy de Provence, France. His father's family had originally been Jewish, but they had converted to Catholicism a generation before Nostradamus was born. His known siblings would have included Delphine, Jean, Pierre, Hector, Louis, Bertrand, Jean again, I kid you not, Jean number 2 was his kid's name,
God.
And Antoine. So he had a lot of siblings. I think Nostradamus is the eldest, though, of all of these kids.
I lost track. How many were there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nostradamus would make 9. So I think he's the eldest of 9.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids. But little else is really known about his childhood. So around the age of 15, the young Nostradamus entered the University of Avignon to study his baccalaureate. It's more based off the research that I saw. It's not it's more like just high school stuff, because what he would have been learning are things like grammar, rhetoric, logic, stuff like that.
Okay.
But after little more than a year of being in school, he was forced to leave Avignon when the university closed its doors due to an outbreak of plague.
Wow. What year is this, you think?
So he's 15 or 16 when it closes, and he was born in 1503. So 16 years after 1503.
Oh, so like 1519.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a plague is popping during this time.
So yeah, and it's like centuries after the bubonic plague first arrived in Europe.
Yeah, it's centuries after that, but like at this point, I think the plague is a very regular occurrence.
Yeah, you get flare-ups. I mean, we covered it quite extensively in Poveglia.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
Episode.
That's right. Go check that one out after this if you haven't already. So according to his own account in his writings, after leaving Avignon, he traveled the countryside for 8 years. Until starting in 1521, 8 years on, researching herbal remedies. He was just studying herbs.
Did he give any indication as to why? It's just because he felt like it?
He was interested in medicine.
Oh, okay.
So he studied on his own, like an independent study of herbs throughout France and Italy, actually.
Wow. That honestly sounds like quite the life.
I know.
Very idyllic.
That does sound fun, except for all the plague that you're probably encountering.
Yeah, never mind. Oh my God.
And then in 1529, after some years as an apothecary at that point, he entered the University of Montpellier to study for a doctorate in medicine.
There we go.
So
okay.
he's like, let's make it a fish. Let's do this. He was, however, expelled from medical school shortly after it was discovered that he had been an apothecary. That was a manual trade, quote, like that's what they called it, that at the time was expressly banned by the university.
Oh, so it was for like a dumb reason.
It was for a dumb
a dumb classist reason. Not like for actually like he was doing medical harm.
No, it's because he had to provide for himself by doing manual trade as an apothecary.
Wow, what a piece of poop.
I know. The expulsion document still exists in the faculty library today.
Okay, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Imagine seeing that.
I got to see that.
So now we'll get into a little bit of his personal life.
Okay.
Nostradamus first married in 1531, but his wife and 2 children died in 1534 during another outbreak of plague.
From the plague, I'm guessing?
Mm-hmm. From the plague. He fought alongside, after that, other doctors, or, he was learning or providing medical care through the apothecary work he had done, and he fought alongside doctors to help people who were suffering from the plague. And he actually became very renowned for his amazing medical treatments.
Oh, wow.
So after getting kicked out of med school, he still went on to heal people in a doctory way.
He's showing them who's boss.
He's showing them who's boss. So then again, he travels throughout Italy and France. That's a theme for him. Who could blame him?
So just like Julius Caesar going from Italy and France.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because good food, good countryside, good wine, it keeps you coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
So then for the next 6 years, he goes deep into researching herbs and kind of like experimenting with different treatment methods.
Okay.
He eventually settles down in the town of Salon, France in 1554, where he marries his second wife, Anne Ponsard-Jamel, with whom he will eventually have and raise 6 kids.
Wow.
3 boys and 3 girls.
Nice. Perfectly balanced. Mm-hmm. As it should be.
As it should be. So that's the background that we have of Nostradamus, okay?
Okay, so he's like in his mid-30s by this point, roughly.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of independent study because he doesn't really have another option. And he's helped a lot of people
Awesome.
At this point.
Hell yeah.
So then it's during this time, after he gets married for the second time and he settles down in Salon, he begins his second career as a prophet. That's a side hustle.
Oh my God. Can we please have a side hustle like that?
Being prophets?
Yeah. I mean, I know History for Weirdos right now is technically a side hustle for us both, but
A second side hustle?
let's do it.
I say let's do it. Let's make some predictions.
That'll be $10,000, please.
I know. Well, you'll see. He succeeds at this side hustle. We'll get to that. So in 1555, he wrote his collection of centuries, is what they're called. And that's a century is a set of 100, obviously, 100 quatrains.
Nice.
So I'm just going to go on a little aside here. A quatrain is a 4-line stanza of poetry, and it can be standalone. These 4 lines can be their own poem, or they can be a part of a larger poem. And the word quatrain comes from the French word quatre, which means 4. So all of the predictions that we have from this guy is written in poetry, is written in these 4-line stanzas.
So we don't have any letters or any sort of other documents written by this guy.
We do have letters.
Oh, okay.
We do have letters, but I mean his predictions.
Got it.
He's not
Understood.
making predictions in letters. He's only doing that through these quatrains. And he wrote 100 of them.
So not
at
only
this
did
point.
he make the predictions, he's writing poetry.
Yeah.
Wow. He's just really showing off at this point.
He's like, my other side hustle is poet.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Doctor or apothecary, I guess.
Yeah.
Prophet, poet. That's a good Instagram bio. I'm going to steal that.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here first. So then, over the next several years, he would complete a total of 10 centuries. Centuries are 100 of those quatrains, and he writes about almost 10.
So almost 1,000 total then, quatrains.
Yep, exactly. He wrote these in a mixture, which I think is really interesting, actually, of French, Italian, Greek, and Latin.
Wow. So he was a polyglot.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Someone who's this brilliant, it can pick up languages probably so easily.
Yeah, they're very, and he says this when he does write about his quatrains. They are full of symbolism and metaphor. So that can kind of be a problem, I guess, if you're reading them as factual predictions. What is a metaphor and what is meant to be taken literally?
Right, exactly.
That can make interpretation difficult.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Like the Oracle of Delphi in like ancient Greece, you know?
Yeah, that's a good association to have here.
Yeah.
So I want to make 2 points just for some context of the time that we're in. During this time, astrology is actually at its peak.
Oh.
It's a type of forecasting of earthly events through observation and interpretation of the stars, the sun, and the moon. Okay, that's like a vague background of what astrology is. And although to us, astrology may be seen as like very trendy, very new age, kind of like a hobby.
Right.
It's actually been considered a scholarly tradition throughout most of history. In ancient and medieval times, astrology was closely linked with astronomy. They were kind of like interchangeable. And then many cultures, including China, India, and the Mayans, developed their own systems for predicting terrestrial events from celestial observations. So they kind of had their own versions of astrology.
Interesting. Okay, so it's almost like a forecasting system where they're like, okay, let me look at the sun, the stars, they're moving at this rate, like, and then these things happen when like the stars are at this alignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say what is really interesting about astrology that I don't think a lot of like people know, I only know this because I've gotten more and more into it throughout my life, is it's looking at part of being an astrologer is actually just documenting what you're seeing, because the quote unquote predictions come from looking at patterns from the past and seeing what were big events happening the last time the stars looked like this.
Right.
And is that happening again? Yes or no? That's a big part of it.
Interesting. Okay. So it's like fact gathering.
Yeah, that's why it was treated as more of a science back in the day.
Yeah, you definitely don't get that vibe today.
Yeah.
Or as much, at least.
Yeah. So I thought that was important. Like, it's not seen as like woo-woo to them. This is seen as like as if you were studying astronomy. Okay.
That's interesting.
And conversely, while the study of astrology is really at its like scholarly peak, there's also the Inquisition, which started in the 12th century in the Kingdom of France, which was meant to combat religious deviation.
Right.
This practice of Inquisition is still alive in Nostradamus' time, very well and alive. And it only actually officially ended in Europe in 1834.
Oof.
When it was finally officially abolished in the last country that was using Inquisition.
Embarrassing.
I know. So basically, Nostradamus is getting a reputation for being really good at predicting the future in a time when it can also be seen and tried as heresy if he pisses off the wrong people. Because like all things, the law isn't fair and equal, right? Like it always is. It depends on who you know and who you're buddies with.
Exactly. And if you're buddies with the right people, you're going to get off. And if you're not, well...
then you could be tried as a heretic.
Exactly.
Yes. So that brings us to one of his most famous buddies.
Ooh, here we go.
Now we're going to talk about Catherine de Medici and her family. Most of the quatrains that Nostradamus composed dealt with disasters like earthquakes, wars, floods, invasions, murder, droughts, battles, and plague.
So a lot of fun stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Only the best. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings. Unwrap the first of many presents this season with holidays on the house from DraftKings Casino. With hundreds of games, prizes, and promos, DraftKings Casino has everything on your list. Right now, new players who play $5 get $100 instantly in casino credits. What are you waiting for? Cozy up with all the classics like slots, blackjack, and roulette. Or play exclusive games you'll only find at DraftKings Casino to feel the holiday cheer all season long. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with promo code HFW and play $5 to get $100 in casino credits. That's promo code HFW only at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. 1 per opted-in new customer. $5 wager required. Max $100 in casino credit awarded, which require 1x playthrough within 7 days. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/holidays on the house. Restrictions apply.
Some of his prophecies were being fulfilled in real time, like in his lifetime, which meant that his fame was very widespread. So widespread, in fact, that he was invited to court by Catherine de Medici, the queen consort of Henry II of France.
Okay, so that's kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal. Nostradamus got the summons from her, and he was like, oh no, this could either be really good or really bad. Luckily for him, it was good. She wanted him to cast the horoscopes of her children. So he was like, yay, I thought this could be a beheading, but we're just doing like a horoscope party.
So beheading horoscope party, 50-50.
50-50 chance for him. It turned out to be in his favor.
That's good.
Yeah. Catherine de Medici was actually known as the Black Queen because of her passionate interest in mysticism and astrology.
Okay. I see you, girl.
Yeah. She was reportedly superstitious from childhood. And superstitious, I put in quotes because that's very subjective. And she loved to surround herself with famous magicians and astrologers. The most famous of whom were Cosimo Ruggeri, an Italian astrologer and alchemist, and our guy Nostradamus.
Yeah, he's number one, though.
He's number one.
He's number one.
Nostradamus became a permanent feature in the royal court. And both of these seers were very prominent when it came to state affairs and how the queen handled everything from like who her kids should marry to where she should travel.
Wow. Okay, so she had a large and very influential like view and control over her kids' lives. Yes,
Catherine de Medici, if anything, eventually develops kind of like a overbearing reputation.
Oof.
For her children.
Yeah, overbearing mother.
Well, it's her job, really, is to keep them going and to keep them
like in power.
In power, yeah. That's pretty much it. And I'm going to get into this right now. We're going to talk a little bit about this guy, Cosimo.
Cosimo.
His story or what he predicts is actually going to come about later on. So I just want to share that with you. So Cosimo infamously predicted to Catherine that her 3 sons would all become kings. And that the Valois dynasty, that's their family, her husband's family, would end with them and would favor the House of Bourbon. They're kind of familial competitors.
Right. I know about the House of Bourbon.
Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind as we continue.
So that's fun. That's great news to have from your seer.
From your seer. And he had been right about other things before. Like doctors believed she was barren when she got married. And she meets Cosimo and he's like, no, you're going to have a ton of kids. You're good. And she does. So upon hearing this, I'm sure she was like, what do you mean all of my sons are going to be kings? How does that work out?
That's not a good thing usually.
What needs to happen for all of them to be kings, right?
I mean, yeah, like one oldest becomes king, dies. The second oldest becomes king, dies. Third one becomes king.
Oh, and then guess what? The Bourbon house is going to take over.
So the third one dies too. I mean, I don't know, but
I don't know. Someone here's making some good predictions.
Weirdos, what do you think? Am I also a visionary?
You mean a seer?
Seer. Oh my
Visionary's
God.
different.
Visionary's different. That was a stupid comment.
No, it wasn't. Visionary's more like I don't know, like Steve Jobs. Would it be a visionary?
Yeah, why did I say visionary? No, I know what a visionary is.
Because you have visions of
I
the
do have
future.
visions, yeah. I am also a visionary.
That's why.
There we go.
So back to Nostradamus. Nostradamus predicted that Catherine de Medici's fourth son, Henry III, would be driven out of the city and that he would flee before being banished from the Kingdom of France and that the siege of Paris would then take place. That's not a good one. That's not a good prediction. And I'm sorry.
Not fun.
I wrote fourth son. I think that's her third son. She has a lot of sons. So I can't keep them all straight, but I don't think she has four. I think she has three. He also made a very disturbing prediction concerning the death of Catherine's husband, King Henry II, which he wrote. He included it in his book because he's like, this is a good one. he published it.
Oh my God.
He said, quote, "He will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made one. Then he dies a cruel death." And guess what?
What?
The King of France did indeed die as the result of an eye injury sustained in a jousting tournament.
Okay, so
weird, right?
This is weird. Like, I mean,
yeah.
That's
So that happens, and then remember, he's kind of backing up with that prediction of Henry III that he's going to be driven out. He's kind of backing up what Cosimo said. So far she's got two seers on her payroll, and neither of them is giving her what she wants to hear.
Yeah, they're not at all. I mean, this is rough.
Yeah, and the one about Henry II came to fruition very shortly after, so she's probably like, God darn it. Catherine's very convinced that Nostradamus is powerful, so she makes him the personal physician to her son, Charles IX.
Got it. Okay.
And here we're going to tell you what happens to her sons. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's hear it.
So, Charles, the one that Nostradamus is in charge of.
Charles.
He's king of France from 1560 until his death in 1574.
Fun.
He ascended after his brother, Francis II, died in 1560. Francis ascended to the throne at age 15. He was married to Mary, Queen of Scots.
Yes.
That's why Nostradamus is in the show Reign.
Right.
It's a very good show. I want to rewatch it now that I've mentioned it so many times.
It's not an advertisement either.
No. And so Francis was actually, when Francis was on the throne, he was actually king of both France and Scotland because of his marriage to Mary. But he dies at the age of 16 of an ear infection.
That is just so sad.
Who dies of an ear infection? I didn't even know that was possible.
I didn't know that was possible either. I mean, that's just really sad, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So, Francis dies.
Francis dead.
Then Charles is like, me.
Charles dead.
And then Charles gets tuberculosis and dies, right? And then Henry III comes up.
Dead.
And he's like, it's my turn. And he died without, all three of these young men die without an heir.
I figured.
Henry III, I actually don't know what he died of. But he dies.
He dies, okay.
I don't know if it's an ear infection or a tummy ache. I don't know. But he dies. And none of them have heirs to ascend after them. That's all three of her sons. They're all gone. Catherine lost out. No more sons. So then guess who takes over?
The House of Bourbon.
Yep. Henry of Navarre. Establishing the House of Bourbon as the new French royal dynasty, just like Cosimo said.
Wow. That's wild.
Yep. So far, the predictions are coming true. She loses her husband and her sons. And the Valois dynasty falls.
So literally everything that guy said, it came to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sucks.
I know.
Not gonna lie, that blows.
So that was our little highlight, I guess, of Nostradamus and the French court and his relationship with Catherine de Medici. Luckily, what I appreciate about her is she didn't seem like a shoot the messenger type of lady. She saw these predictions coming true from both men, and I think she gave them very generous pay and accommodations and stuff. I don't think she ever took it out on them.
Right, because it's not like they're bringing it about. They can only see it. They can't control events.
Exactly. But you know how royals are.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They're crazy. So we're going to get back to Nostradamus's other predictions outside of the House of Valois.
Got it.
So one of his most famous ones was the Great Fire of London.
In 1666?
In 1666. He wrote in his book, quote, "The blood of the just will be demanded of London, burnt by fire in the year 66. The ancient lady will fall from her high place, and many of the same sect will be killed." And what happened? A small fire started in a bakery on Pudding Lane.
Pudding Lane?
Such a cute sounding lane.
Pudding Lane.
In London on September 2nd, 1666, and it turned into a 3-day blaze that would eventually consume the city.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's a little disconcerting.
A little bit. So another one that he predicted. Should I tell you what the prediction is, or should I read you the quatrains first?
Oh, read us the quatrain,
Okay.
and then we'll predict, or
Okay.
I'll predict.
And you'll guess what it
guess
is?
what- yeah.
Okay. Are you ready? This one doesn't have a year.
Okay.
So you got to really use your imagination, I think.
Okay.
Quote,
Mm-hmm.
"From the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands, while princes and lords are held captive in prisons. These will, in the future, headless idiots be received as divine prayers."
French Revolution.
That is Nostradamus predicting the French Revolution.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
Yes.
Okay, I almost went, wow, but really loudly into the microphone, and it would have blown out your eardrums.
I
So,
was impressed.
yeah, I really held it together here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty stoked.
I was impressed that you got the prediction right.
Oh, I was just impressed with my self-restraint.
That you were able
my
to contain your
celebration.
woo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then I wrote what happened in 1789. Is that correct?
1789, yeah.
Okay. You know my dyscalculia. Sometimes I flip the numbers. The French people decided enough is enough. And they revolted. Peasants took control of Paris. And the aristocracy were locked in the Bastille, the prisons, like he says, until they were beheaded at the guillotine.
Yep.
Pretty accurate.
Fun times.
Okay. Do you want to guess again for the next one?
Okay, let's hear it.
This one is going to be harder
Okay.
because only a part of it rings true to a historical event.
Interesting.
So this quatrain goes, "The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at nighttime. Conflict in Reims, London, and pestilence in Tuscany." The end. What do you think it is?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
Because it doesn't all go together. That's
Right,
why
it
this one's
doesn't.
confusing.
Sounds like in this assassination or something,
Yeah.
and then, but there was some sort of disease in Tuscany. I'm not following here. I don't know.
Okay. This verse has been most associated with the assassinations of both Kennedys.
Oh, okay. I was thinking JFK, but I was I don't.
Yeah. President John F. Kennedy, a great man, right?
Right.
Like in the thing, received numerous death threats, the petitions, throughout his presidency.
Yeah.
And while visiting Dallas, we know in 1963, he was gunned down. That would be the thunderbolt in the daytime.
Right. I know that.
his brother, Bobby Kennedy, was later assassinated just after midnight in 1968. So that's what they associate with another falls at nighttime. Like another man in the family.
Got it.
However, the big like confusing trip up with this one is there seems to be no association of the conflict in London and the sickness in Tuscany doesn't fit in.
Yeah, that threw me off. I had no idea.
Yeah, there's nothing like that going on in the 60s. Not at least at the time of these two men's assassinations. So that one's more like, who knows?
Right.
And then, you want to guess another one?
Okay, one more. Let's guess one more.
Okay.
I got to redeem myself, weirdos.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people, who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the East.
Hitler?
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like an antichrist, and it's already happened, so closest person, Hitler.
Yes. This quatrain is most commonly associated with the rise of Adolf Hitler. And a little side tangent here on this, Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda, ordered the creation and distribution of a brochure that would convince those living in the like neutral countries that a Nazi victory was inevitable, using Nostradamus's prediction as proof.
Wow.
Yeah, his wife Magda actually showed him this prediction and was like, see?
So Goebbels like even bought into his own BS.
Yeah, Goebbels bought his own BS. The Allies, though, retaliated with a bit of psychological warfare, airdropping large quantities of flyers over German-occupied territories, claiming that there was actually another Nostradamus passage where Germany's defeat was foreseen. There isn't.
There isn't one.
They wrote a fake one.
So literally they dropped fake news into Germany?
Yeah, into German-occupied territories, yes. Then, in an attempt to like back this up and boost morale, MGM, the studio, produced a series of short films about Nostradamus so that people knew who he was and why it was a big deal that he quote unquote predicted.
Oh my God, this is like the beginning of the CIA.
Right? I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
I won't make you guess anymore. Those were all the ones that I thought would be fun for
Okay.
us to read here. And we are going to get into a little bit of the controversy of Nostradamus.
Nice.
So Nostradamus's contemporaries held varying opinions about him. Some respected him very much so for his medical skills and his knowledge of astrology, while others were skeptical and very critical of his claims. Today's critics tend to have three main reasons for discrediting him.
Okay.
Number one is vagueness. Nostradamus's predictions are often criticized for their ambiguous nature, making it susceptible to a wide range of interpretations. And skeptics are arguing that the vagueness allows Nostradamus enthusiasts to retrofit the verses to historical events.
Right. And that is something you could definitely, I think, you can make that argument, I think, pretty well.
Yeah.
Because he is very vague. Mm-hmm. I mean, somewhat eerily specific, but also yet vague. Like, he was a genius, so he could probably write in a way that made him sound like he could, if he is a fake, right? Let's just say he is a fake. And he's so smart, he could just write in a way that's like, oh, well, I get it, right? That makes sense, but still have plausible deniability.
Right. Then there is the criticism that his fans have, to kind of go along with this, have selective interpretation. They tend to like cherry pick kind of the quatrains, and they can't really explain all the ones that haven't come to fruition.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, I don't know.
Because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. And number three, these all kind of are actually the same point now that I think about it. It's the lack of specific dates. Not all of them lack dates, but most.
Right. Like even the Great Fire of London, the 66, it could, like, he purposefully avoided the first two numbers, right? It could be 1666, 1766, 1866, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the absence of the clear reference could kind of lend credit to those other points.
Right.
But that brings us to the question, did Nostradamus consider himself a prophet?
Ooh, that's interesting. I never even thought to consider this. Interesting. Okay.
He explicitly rejected the label prophet.
Smart.
In several of his writings, and I'm going to give you some examples. He wrote in a letter, quote, "Although, my son, I have used the word prophet, I would not attribute to myself a title of such lofty sublimity." He wrote that in 1555. The second quote says, "Some of the prophets predicted great and marvelous things to come, though for me, I in no way attribute to myself such a title here." And he actually wrote that in a letter to King Henry II.
Oh, wow.
So he's telling Henry, Henry's like, "Oh, you're this prophet and you said I'm going to die." And he's like,
Nah, fam.
I'm not that good. Don't
That
worry.
ain't me.
And then he dies. And the third one is, "Not that I am foolish enough to claim to be a prophet." And he wrote this in an open letter to the Privy Councillor. Because they were all talking smack, the Privy Council, he thinks he's so cool being a prophet.
They were just being a bunch of mean girls.
Yeah, they were being super cliquey and mean because he was new in court. And he was like, "I never said that." That's exactly how it went. I'm
sure.
So a legend developed that Nostradamus would enter into a trance-like state by gazing into flames in order to write these quatrains and make the predictions. But if you read his book, Nostradamus himself tells us his process in one of the earlier quatrains. And it sounds more like, I do a ton of research, I contemplate, I meditate, and then I write. The end.
Oh, wow. It's weirdly logical.
Yeah. He's not, in no way does he ever argue that he is kind of calling on spirits or having visions of things.
Right.
He, again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, he's studying what do we know about the celestial bodies and their placements in history so far, and what could that possibly tell us about things to come. So, for many years, on a personal level, Nostradamus battled gout.
Oh, that's a terrible disease.
Very painful to have even now.
Yeah.
And by 1566, his gout got so bad that it likely developed into an edema, which is a buildup of fluid in the tissue. So he probably swelled his limbs.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
In late June of that year, he requested that his lawyer come to draw up an extensive will, bequeathing his property plus 3,444 crowns, which would be more or less, according to Wikipedia, around $300,000 US today. And then he paid off some debts, and he left all his money to his wife and kids.
Okay, so that's good.
Which is very nice.
Yeah.
And then allegedly on the evening of July 1st, he told his secretary, Jean de Chavigny, quote, "You will not find me alive at sunrise." The next morning, he was found dead, laying on the floor next to his bed, in between his bed and his bench. He passed away at the age of 62.
Wow. So he just went out with a banger. He's like, I'm not going to live the night.
Yeah.
FYI.
So that is what his secretary, Jean, attested to his whole life. But people are saying oh, he's just saying that to make it sound cool. But
I mean, if he stuck with that his entire life.
Yeah,
then...
that's kind of a weird thing to lie about.
Right.
Nostradamus was buried in the local Franciscan chapel in Salon, where he lived, but he was later reinterred during the French Revolution, which he predicted, in the Collégiale Saint-Laurent, where his tomb remains to this day. You can go visit it.
We need to go visit it.
Yes.
We need to post up and take some pics.
I really want to. Okay, that's a tomb that I'd be down to see.
Yeah.
For sure. That one, and what's the one in Paris everyone sees? Jim Morrison?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think
Jim Morrison. And then the catacombs.
Oh.
I just said that to scare Stephanie.
You know that I'm scared of the catacombs.
I know. And it cracks me up.
So the prophecies that he wrote have been retold, expanded, they've influenced lots of popular culture, especially in the 20th and 21st centuries, they became very popular again. This man has literally been the subject of hundreds of books, both fiction and nonfiction. And his life has been depicted in films and TV shows like The Man Who Saw Tomorrow.
Ooh.
This is a documentary style film from 1981.
Very nice.
The Curse of Nostradamus.
Oh.
That's a Mexican film from 1961.
That makes sense. The Curse of Nostradamus. It's very like extravagant.
It's actually about a vampire.
Oh my God, even better.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Nostradamus and the Queen, which is a 1941 film where it's actually Catherine de Medici reflecting on how Nostradamus accurately predicted the fate of her family.
That's rough.
And then The Nostradamus Effect was a History Channel TV show in 2009, which I think is so cute.
That's really cute.
And of course, Rain by the CW.
I think that's like the third time, maybe fourth time you've mentioned it this episode.
The Rain girlies know why. They know what's up.
Yeah, weirdos, if you're a Rain girly or boy, let us know.
Yeah, because you know what's up.
Yeah, exactly.
All in all, Nostradamus left a complex and enduring legacy that continues to captivate minds around the world. His legacy is controversial for sure, but despite skepticism, his predictions have inspired countless people around the world for the last 450 years.
Ooh.
Which I think is so cool.
That is cool. Weirdos, what do you think? Do you think Nostradamus is like a fraud, or is he legit? If you're listening to this on Spotify, let us know.
Yeah, comment.
Comment it.
Comment what you think about Nostradamus.
Yeah.
And that is his life and legacy.
Nice. Thank you so much, Steph. This is the first time I've ever like heard like a full transcription of his life and his like deeds. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously we didn't do every single prediction,
Too many.
There's way too many. But I mean, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know his relationship with like the French monarchy at all.
Really?
Yeah, or that he was going to be a doctor. I mean, I just knew about Nostradamus, but kind of like, oh yeah, like I know about this one person that's referenced constantly.
Yeah. You know, he also wrote a cookbook.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
That was another side hustle he had.
Do any of his dishes cure cancer?
I don't think so. But he is the king of side hustles, it seems.
I know. We got to step it up.
We got to step it up.
We can all learn from Nostradamus here.
So before we wrap up, let me share my sources for this week. I had multiple articles from the Encyclopedia Britannica, as well as multiple articles from the History Channel.
Nice.
It was too many to like list individually. The Loire Valley, the region in France, has their own website with a lot of like the history of the region, and I got some information there. Business Insider. Let's go. Had an article on him.
Amazing.
History Now magazine. This really cool, I don't know, blog or website. Looked very like aesthetic and curated, called theinstantwhen.com. And of course, Wikipedia. And that is it for my episode on Nostradamus, the astrologer, apothecary, and my birthday twin.
Nice. And again, from the weirdos, happy birthday.
Thanks, weirdos.
I'm your conduit, weirdos. Deal with it. And well, that's this week's episode. You guys know the drill now. If you haven't added us on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing. Go ahead and do that like right now. And I don't have anything else for you guys this week. Steph, do you have any parting words for the weirdos?
Just thank you, as always, for being here. We appreciate it so, so much.
Yeah, you guys are incredible.
Yeah, you make this podcast happen, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, without further ado, adios, weirdos.
Until next time.
With Starbucks Holiday Blend for Nespresso Virtuo, now exclusively at Target, there are even more ways to share the joy. Savor every smooth and festive sip all holiday season with friends and family at home to fill every indulgent day with cheer.
Attention car shoppers. Right now at South Carolina Federal Credit Union, you can get a new or used auto loan and pay nothing until 2024. And no payments for 90 days means nothing out of pocket going into the new year. Plus, we have flexible rates and terms, so you could make the best financial choice for you. Learn more at scfederal.org/autoloans. That's scfederal.org/autoloans. Certain restrictions apply. Existing South Carolina federal credit loans are excluded.